Welcome everyone to this video as we take a step out of the old mainstream world, even beyond the spiritual new age world, out into the new way that I keep talking about around the words that we're using to describe our children, particularly when they show up in what we might say their shadows. So what I want to remind everyone is, I feel like you'll agree with me, is that we are feeling the need to move away from the old system. Medical world, allied health world, school system, the fear stuff. Most of the women who are following me are getting that call. The thing is, for us to truly step out of that world, we have to truly start to be in a different world, and that includes the language that we're using. So me loving language, I really see the energy behind the words that we're using, and it's caused me to look at all the different ways we describe ourselves to go, what does that actually mean when we're saying I'm an empath? Or what is that actually saying about our child when we say they're a highly sensitive child? What does that actually say about my child if I say they have autism, if they're fussy eater, if they are a bad sleeper, if they are naughty? All of those different words that we can use to describe our child. So what I've since been doing is then, as I piece them all apart, is to really call in, how can I describe this in a different way? And a lot of people have wondered why I use these different words. But the point is, it's like we have to break down the old system, including the words that we use, because there is so much connotation behind the words. There is a lot of fear energy inserted into them that, even though us beautiful mothers have tried to use them and tried to make the best out of these words, as I've tuned inwards and inwards and inwards, I can still see where the shadows are, and the mums start to realize themselves as we go into that. So what I want to do today is I'm just looking at my list of a few different words that we might talk about. One of them being, let's say, we would pick, empath. And this is also, as I talk about this, the words we use to describe ourselves as well, even if it's in spiritual new age language. So I'm going to pick the word empath because I hear a lot of people saying, oh, but they're an empath. Well, you've got to be careful, they're an empath. But what are we actually saying when we're saying empath? Are we actually saying this is a good thing? Are we actually saying this is a bad thing? Where is the energy? And what I tune into this, even in this word, there's a bit of victim energy of, oh, but I'm an empath, or my child's an empath, looking for someone to validate how it has been for you to have had a sensitive heart, to have gone through what I call the shadowy times in having that beautiful heart energy where you've felt a lot of people's stress and you haven't known how to deal with that. The heart energy in the light is, hey, I can see that you're having, some troubles. I know how you're feeling. I can then go and help you. That is a beautiful thing. Or being able to, offload your beautiful love and all those amazing, beautiful emotions that you can help others with. But the thing is, we have to work through the shadows first so that we can then use this heart energy for the light. And so the empath is often used in an interesting way, because what I see is a lot of people craving for some beautiful nurturing around their experience with what I would call the heart energy in the shadows. So when we talk about our child in that description as well, we have to really be careful. We're not putting our projection of our experience, having had heart energy integrated, which is a magical thing, but going through the shadows of that onto our child. And that is the thing of the new way, is to really see that often when we're putting a label, a diagnosis, a word, a descriptive word on our child, we really must reflect in to go, is that within me? Is there something to be resolved within me? What does it mean when I actually use that word? Because it's actually coming back to us. You are it. You are the only player here in this hologram here on earth. That's all in my book, my series of books that are coming out. There's so much detail behind this, but that's the main part, is that mother-child reflection, or reflection with anyone. It's always about, if I'm wanting to label my child with something, what is the reason? So why would you label your child with a particular term, particularly if it comes from anywhere from the school system, the medical system, daycares, allied health, any of the old world? We must question it. A lot of women will say, oh, but my child has autism, and we go into that. What are you meaning by that? Why are you going with that word? Often it will come up, oh, well, we need to play that game because then we can get funding for them, then we can get therapy. So that's one thing. And that's, assuming that we are still got that leg, we still have that leg in the old world, well then yes, that is a reason. But again, empowerment is to see past that, to go, how can I step out of that world? What if I didn't need that funding, and to start to even dream out of that world? That's one whole point we could talk about for a long while. The next one, though, is the big heart thing for the mums that I was kind of hitting on before, is validation. I am so relieved when my child gets this diagnosis, because then everyone else can see I've had a tough time being a mother of a child who has shadows that show up like this. And that's, for me, my son Hayden, if you know my story, it's on my website, HeidiHosking.com, easily could have been diagnosed with ASD and ADHD when he was little. Me being a speech pathologist, having those type of children as my bread and butter, I couldn't bring myself to do it because I could see his light as well. And so we went for the gifted diagnosis, and I went down that road of being a mother who knew he was gifted from 2, at least, if not earlier. People thought, again, I was being indulgent and over the top and all of that. And so I have gone through that feeling of like, oh, I cried tears when this lady confirmed, yes, your child is extremely bright. And then you start to go, oh yeah, all these tough times I've had when no one was there to support me. So that is a foundational thing for us to work through as mothers. And when we have worked through that, which I have a whole energetic inner work process to really pull that weed out, we come to that point where we have dealt with the dark stuff, and we look at our child and we can go, but there's so much light there. I want to celebrate their light. And when you get to that point, you will not want to put a diagnosis or a label or even a descriptive word on your child. You would rather break it down and say, for example, yes, my child is rigid in this way, so am I have my rigid ways. That's that mother-child reflection. But then also, but they have a memory that's amazing and they can use it in these ways. Even, again, you might reflect, yeah, my memory, I've been able to do this, this, and this in my life. Theirs is like exponentially better, because each generation, the light and the shadows keeps getting more pronounced. So we actually look at this stuff. So what I'm getting at is, behind each little diagnosis or label, there's a lot to piece apart. What's actually in the shadows? What's actually tricky about this child showing up like this? What's actually in the light? And this is the sneaky stuff, because sometimes we've said, you know, for a child with autism, they won't please others. Basically, they won't change and they won't conform to social norms. Is that in the shadows, or is that actually in the light? And the more I looked at my own son, and the more I reflected it back to myself, and the more I saw it even in my husband, so there's the reflection with the parent and the 2 parents and the child, I started to realize the people pleaser in me was that energy in the shadows. My husband, who would stand there and go, I don't feel like going, or I don't want to do that, and would stand there and be who he was without feeling the need to apologize, was actually in the light. So then I started to see it in these children with autism. They're actually standing their ground. They're staying true to themselves. No matter how much shit they get to rock them from side to side, they have what I see as, if we go off star, heart, and earth energy, the star energy in the light. I've come down. I am staying true to myself. Sorry. The heart energy in the shadows is the people pleasers that are using this heart energy. I know what they feel. I know what they want. So I'll change and I'll shift myself and I'll say things to make you feel better. It's in the shadows. So often we have been seeing children, say with autism, with their energy in the light, the star energy, in staying true to themselves, but the old conditioning of people please, you know, do what society wants you to, don't do anything embarrassing. It's actually a heart energy in the shadows. It's actually us that are in the shadows. And so this is where, when people give me a label, I'm like, what are you actually meaning? Because there's so many different parts to it. And then where is that reflection within yourself? And once you start to tease it apart for yourself, you really own it, and you start to go, this has got nothing to do with my child. The more I have owned all of these different bits and pieces, the more my own son Hayden has changed and changed and changed again. He's opened his heart. I have then embodied the star energy in the light to start to stand my own ground and go, no, I'm not actually going to do that to, you know, make someone else feel comfortable or to please someone else. And then we are going somewhere. So there's a lot in this. I just want to give a little snippet for people who are interested, the forerunners, the people who are going to take this up to go, oh yeah, this is not just autism. There's a lot. I could go on and on with lots of different examples. I'd love for you to get in contact with me if you'd like me to do a specific video on a specific term or a specific label, like even introvert, extrovert. There's just so many that when we look behind it, we go, hang on, where's the actual truth here? Where should we be sitting to be in the most power? Where have we been a bit kidded with these interesting terms that have come out of, as I say, the old world and even the new age spiritual world, that hasn't quite been hitting on where we actually should be going. And it's amazing, because when we start to look at it, it's actually teaching us adults to look at ourselves and to decondition all this stuff. And then when we've done that hard work and let go, especially of that need of validation, because our child is tricky, we can get on with the game and to go, okay, I'm owning my shadows. I see that you're reflecting that stuff in me. I'm working through my stuff. Now I can help you to work through your stuff. We can keep shifting this out. And before long, you go, there is no diagnosis. My son Hayden is not a diagnosis. And, you know, as I was saying, none of us are. But to the point where, as I've shifted myself, he shifted so much that then you would say, actually, we've all got shadows. We're always showing up in shadows and light, but we're showing up in shadows, all of us. So who are we to label someone else with a diagnosis or a label or even a term like empath, introvert, extrovert? What I then do with all of these is map it to star, heart, and earth energy and simply see, is this in the light? Is this in the shadows? Where can we celebrate where we're showing up in the light? And where can we look at the shadows to go, oh, okay, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my child? Am I seeing it in some other family member too? Generally, it's family lines of people that have either, for example, stood their ground and been weird and shown up in their star energy in the light, or shape-shifted and people-pleased and done all those pleasantries in the heart energy in the shadows. So that's enough for me today. Please do ask me any questions. I'd love for you to let me know if you need any clarity. I am writing my book right now. The thing is, this one is actually only going to be touched on probably the third book around the children and around these diagnoses and all of that. So I was keen to get out here and start talking about it, though, because I am holding a lot with a lot of people showing up with these different terms and me saying we have to look out in a different way and start to use new frameworks, new terms, everything, if we want to get rid of the energy of the old system. We cannot keep using those terms. See you all later. Do look down below. I will put a link to my quiz to find out your true essence profile as far as star, heart, and earth energy. If you haven't done that before, do it for yourself, do it for your children. You can even take it on behalf of your partner. Don't make them do it if they're not keen, but it will show you a little bit more about yourself to go, oh, okay, yeah, right, who's showing up more star, heart, and earth energy in your family? And this is where we start to go forward with this whole framework. I am going and aiming to allowing people to start to say, oh, I can define myself in a completely different way that really owns who I am and my true essence, rather than going off terms that we've had no other option to because we haven't had another way to reference ourselves. Love to you all. Bye.